Just go up to a random person on the tube and scream a cast at them.
Yeah.
And hope that they just like guess it. Just go, Robin Williams, like Forrest Whitaker. Because I actually think that would work. Yeah. If you just start, I feel like for you, if a madman just screamed the cast, you'd be like, oh my God, a vantage point? And they'd go, yes. To a big supermarket yesterday because it's cheaper to actually shop at a big supermarket. Yes. And I went on a Sunday and I kind of forgot.
Huge mistake.
Well, no, it was fine, but I forgot that a lot of the big ones don't open till 11, sometimes 12.
Yes.
So I was there at 10:40.
Okay.
Went for a leisurely stroll, got coffee, got to 10:40, realised it wasn't open, and I noticed that different generations wait for supermarkets to open in very different ways.
Yeah.
So Like I will go, I just realised I got 20 minutes. I will sit on a bench on an infinite vertical scroll field and poison my brain for 20 minutes. the pensioners who that's their activity of the day. It's like going to the thing. They will stand outside the double windows with their bags
for life,
and just stare into the supermarket. And there's the poor person in the Waitrose vest, putting baskets next to the door, who's just going 11, and they're just no reaction.
Yeah,
they're like, I'll wait.
Yeah.
And they'll just stare. They don't occupy themselves. Yeah. This was their day, was that they would get up, leave, go out.
They've promised their other half that they would be there.
I am already I've already consumed 1,000 different pieces of content, opinions of all different political persuasions.
You've forgotten where you are.
I've laughed, I've cried, I've been shocked, I've despaired for the world, all in 20 minutes. And they're just nope, single mind.
Yeah.
I will buy one melon and put it in a plastic bag and walk home.
Yeah.
And I just found it really fun. Then Gen X were nowhere to be seen because they're just lost.
They're the ones who are still trying to buy it.
I reckon they're in a pret, I'll go and occupy myself with something.
Two children on either side.
Yeah.
Bouncing them. That's more millennials really probably now actually.
They're the Ben Affleck meme, smoking a cigarette outside. Yeah. Just please, just go.
The reason when you said you went shopping on a Sunday like that, I went, God, it's because I used to work at a supermarket and I know that scene you're describing, I know exactly.
Yeah.
The people getting there.
It's
right,
11
right
people.
And
20 minutes, not 5 minutes, 20 minutes before.
I have a slither of me that is almost admires it. I do admire the dedication to that person has said to themselves, I will be going shopping at that time today.
I want the freshest produce.
And they're early because they're so thorough, they're early. And I kind of almost admire it. I don't, but I almost do. But people who go to the big supermarkets at 4 o'clock on a Sunday when you've got 1 hour left. No. James, you go. But I as someone who used to work Sundays, I've also been the person who's forgotten stuff and gone on Sundays, but you just don't go at that time.
Yeah. It's a very it's old school 70s thinking where it wouldn't be open anyway. It's Sunday, back in the day, you would not have any food. If you didn't have food on the Sunday, that's what my parents were like. You had to get food before Sunday because on Sunday you wouldn't have anything.
But now it's oh my God, it's shutting at 6 and everyone's forgotten. And they've
Scrambling.
got, what are we going to have for tea? And
Sunday roast.
The panic in the air is palpable and the stress is palpable. And you'd see the same people coming in at the same time every Sunday.
Degenerates.
And I'm like, you're the worst. You are the worst.
I saw you here last Sunday.
Yeah.
And you still don't know where the capers are.
And you still don't know what time we close on a Sunday, which is early.
Oh, when's you close? In 5 minutes. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you still see them coming in. You're like, I want to get home on time.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, the supermarket I worked in it closed at 4. Which is crazy. It used to open at 10, close at 4.
It's barely a shift.
Because in England or Britain...
Why stack the shelves when you basically just... Yeah.
We have... just going to finish my point before you just busted that. We have limited trading hours on a Sunday, just for our international listeners.
It's God's day.
It's God's day, and it's some, I guess, labour law they brought in.
Yeah, that mainly. Yeah.
This is going to be an episode all about the labour laws of the United Kingdom. Good observation. Good sociological observation there.
Yeah. Guys, welcome to episode 84 of PULP KITCHEN. We're going to be talking about 2 films today. Talking about Elemental, the new Pixar film set in Element City with elements.
No, it's not, is it?
Well, I'll get onto it. It had more of a setting than I thought it had.
Okay.
Because the poster's black and then fire and water.
Yeah.
I was like, that's just purgatory and heat.
Yes.
And so, that doesn't tell me anything. But anyway, and then Mission Implausible. Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning.
You can't do
Part
that.
One.
That's just implausible.
Yeah. I think the title Mission Impossible is like so 80s. Mission Impossible.
60s technically.
Yes, true.
But also it's almost irrelevant now. We've been saying it so long that I haven't actually thought that like, this mission, guess what, mate? It's impossible.
And even in this modern one, there's like, you know, there's like a big opening sequence and then it goes bum bum and it's great, you're having a good time. But then it's like the Mission Impossible, like it's slightly italicized, thin, and then it's a stamp. Dead Reckoning, and then like Part One fades in. Like it's still really kind of old school graphics, but
but it's got that old school charm, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about it. We'll see. So we're
talking about those two today.
Absolutely, looking forward to talking about that.
And then in our bonus this week, we're going to be George, is cinema dead? Is it dying? Is the film industry dying?
I thought for a second you were like, George, like you've killed cinema. You're blaming it on me.
It's your fault.
No, is cinema dead? Well, that's something we're going to discuss based on a listener's email in our bonus episode.
And picking up a lot of conversations we've had industry as of late. So
just a reminder, if you are a new listener, welcome. Hey, how you doing? I hope you've had a good week. We do post bonus episodes regularly.
Yeah.
We've had many in the past few weeks.
Check them out.
If you'll get a bit midweek hungry for a bit of Pulp Kitchen, go, haven't been back to the Pulp Kitchen in a while. I'm getting a bit peckish. And you're like, well, we've got something for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get on. We're talking, first of all, about Pixar's new film, Elemental. Was it good, mate? It was Elemental.
Yeah. So George, Elemental is a film that's been out in the States for a few weeks. We have covered it very intermittently in our previous episodes, looking ahead to the film, which, am I fair to say that it's kind of on our radar because it's a Pixar film, so that immediately like spikes our interest because of the massive catalogue that Pixar's had. But in a lot of ways, we feel like this one's sort of been sidelined towards its release. We've not really heard much about it. Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair to say, and I think that became true when it came out and it got sort of a lukewarm domestic box office sort of reception. I think you and I have also been very skeptical about the sort of, you know, amorphous, abstract Pixar phase. It seems like a bit of a last resort idea. Fire, elements, water. Okay, but hats off to you for going to see it then.
And I think I was a bit critical of it. And I think I looked at the poster, which I just spoke about, and it's a black, very minimalist poster, black screen with Elemental in text, and then a piece of fire with a face. Does she wear clothes?
A piece of fire.
Literally a piece of fire. What do you call it? A flame.
Flame.
A flame.
Not a piece of fire.
Tell me, I'm a piece of that fire. A piece of fire, that's what I'm going to call it. And a droplet of water with a face. Yeah. And they're sort of like smiling and doing a like Matthew McConaughey style lead poster. And I'm like, okay, I get element. I've got two really important elements there, but this really doesn't tell me anything about the film. Is this being poorly marketed? And I looked at that and I thought, ooh, are we in like an infinite subconscious purgatory between the realms of this? I've kind of already watched quite a few Pixar films like that. I'm not sure I fancy another one because those have kind of had mixed results. I was like, do you know what? I'll go and see Elemental. Went with my girlfriend sort of on the weekend. We actually went for a whole Everyman experience, which was actually really nice because, you know, you get a sofa, but we did kind of forget that it's summer holidays, weekend, loads of kids aged like 8 to 11, 12.
The target audience.
How dare the target audience be there? Like, of course the target audience is there, but it's like in the trailers, it was a little bit loud. It did like die down after like 3 minutes into the film, but I was a bit like, oh, this isn't really for me, but we're here. Anyway, I'm going to see Mission Impossible. Might as well see some counter-programming if there ever was. And this is what Elemental is about. We have a city called Element City. Brilliant. And this is what my immediate reaction to that was, oh, thank God, like a setting, a place, a sort of
not a void.
Not a void. Oh, the TV's just gone, oh, never mind. Not like a void.
Hey, wait, do you want to fix it? We'll come.
It's not a place, it's not a void, it's an actual like thing where there are rules and laws and you can reach and touch it, and it's not, I'm going to fall further down into the further of things. I was like, oh, like, a thing to watch. So I was really a little bit relieved. In which the elements live next to each other, but elements, George, they don't mix. They do not get on. Fire and water put each other out. So fire would boil water, and if water falls onto fire, it extinguishes. You've got You got the sort of leafy, earthy people who,
earth.
you know, they can't touch fire because
They'll
they'll turn on fire. But water and earth actually have quite a good relationship because sometimes the water falls on the green and the green grows.
Yeah,
They're like, oh, okay. Yeah. Thanks. There's all these sort of rules. And Pixar films are wonderful tools for creating an allegory about our lives.
Yes.
And they often will hold up a frame that's very similar to conflicts that exist in our world. And we sort of look at that and go, oh, really... what an interesting way to portray that. This has, and I'll get into the plot now, one of the more heavy-handed, on-the-nose allegories that I've ever seen in a Pixar film, right? So we have characters Cinder Lumen and Bernie Lumen, who are fire. And they left their original homeland and came on a boat and arrived in Elemental City for a better life, right? They were searching for ages to try and find somewhere to settle, but none of the other places ever really wanted to be associated with fire because, you know, fire is not good. It will burn people down. Sure. And you can see sort of the obvious sort of links that could be made from this. But eventually they start their own place. They start a shop called The Fireplace, and they raise a child called Ember Lumen. Get it? Ember, yep. And Ember Lumen grows up, and she's one day going to inherit the shop. But Ember Lumen has a tendency to get a bit hot, get a bit excited, and sort of fizz out. And when she gets too upset, explodes fire, which is a problem for everyone. Then comes in to the shop a sort of a safety inspector called Wade, who's water.
Right.
Wade, like pool, Wade, ripple.
Okay, yeah, got it.
And through some sort of...
I hope that's not the highest level of humour, is it?
All the names are puns. Okay. We've got Gale, Cumulus, Brook, Ripple, Fern, who's like an earthy thing. Yeah. And... through some sort of comedy of errors, Wade ends up writing a report that's going to shut the place down due to like the bad ways in which it's built. And Ember goes on this long adventure to try and track Wade down and save the shop. And it becomes this whole thing about, does she actually want to look after the shop that her parents set up? Her parents have this sort of desire for her to take on the family heritage, and her parents are very suspicious of other elements. They were rejected by them in the past. You will never ever marry a water or an earth. You know, you should stick to your own. The food we have is very hot. And you know, this is a very heavy-handed.
Sorry, so silly.
Yeah. You know what? It's one of the most heavy-handed allegories to immigration, moving to a new country, trying to be accepted into society. And I think if you were to portray these dynamics in live action, I think potentially this could be extremely reductive and a problematic way to talk about refugees, immigration, people seeking asylum. That being said, I thought when I was watching this, I could see the beats of this plot coming from a mile away. And that was true for about 70% of the beats of the plot. But within this film is, you know, Ember goes to visit Wade's family, who are basically like opulent and wealthy, incredibly emotionally mature and connected to themselves because they're rich. They are like, you know, able to connect with their emotions, And they play this game, which is let's see if we can make each other cry. That's their game. And I think Pixar is playing this game with every single one of us because they, I think, are now going, can we make, within 90 minutes, the people watching this cry? And George, God damn it, me and Talia were sobbing.
Oh, wow.
Unsurprisingly sobbing.
No way.
I literally was so ready to be like, yeah, that will happen. And then there's a moment that really catches me by surprise. And a tear rolling down the cheek. I swear to God, Talia like doing that thing where you shake, cry. And we're both just like, I really was, like, I was enjoying the film and like on paper, I think the ideas sound worse than they are executed.
Yes, yeah.
It really is a DMT trip. And I do wish the writers could sort of come a little bit back down to earth and get off the beanbags. And it is just like, rip the bong. What if fire and water fell in love? But they can't. They'll burn each other up. Like, that's the plot. But holy shit. Did that really get me in the feels? Then there's another, the bit, it goes on to like another ending, which calls back to something, and I cried again.
Oh, wow. A double cry.
George, they have got you.
Wow.
They have got, because this happened to me with Onward. Do you remember I told you about Onward?
Yeah, which I haven't
a
seen.
film which, again, I thought was sweet as I was watching it, and I sort of enjoyed the idea a little bit. It was slightly underexplored, but then the moment it hits you with at the end, and if you've seen Onward, you know what I'm talking about. This really sort of
gear change.
Real gear change, and like what this film's all about and how deep and meaningful it was, that it really got me. And then this film, which I was ready to sort of dismiss as being slightly a bit sort of on the nose and reductive, I have to say, towards the end, really well executed, and it got me in the feels, and I felt empathy and emotion that was real, and I'm so glad to say it's better than I thought it would be.
Oh, what a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
I really didn't think I'd have much to say about it, but Pixar have got whatever
they do know. They got the special sauce.
100%. They just know.
Wow.
And even though I was like, they're not going to make me cry. Like, I know what's going to happen. That what I thought was going to happen didn't happen.
Wow. Were other people in the audience sobbing?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, there were.
Good.
Okay, that's
really
you know when you like have a really good cry and you come out the cinema and you're just like, oh, yeah, so good.
Cinema, that feels great. The cinema spa.
The cinema spa.
The
we were just talking away home being like, that really, really worked as a premise to get you to cry.
Fantastic.
There you go.
If you've seen Elemental and you also had a little bit of a tear, let us know and write into hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. Or maybe you didn't. Maybe you're a little bit, someone's written in already. Did you hear that? My God. Maybe you disagree with James and write in to tell us that. Again, at hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Hey guys, this episode of Pulp Kitchen is brought to you by Caldera Lab. Now, skincare is important, but so is making a good first impression. So how do you put your best face forward with a good skincare routine? Caldera Lab is clinically proven to reduce wrinkles, fine lines, and signs of aging, and they're leading the way in men's skincare.
Skincare can often feel like the Wild West for men, whether men can't find the right brand or simply lack knowledge or understanding of it. But luckily, it's easier than ever with Caldera Lab and the regimen. Guys, inside the regimen is a bundle including the Clean Slate, the Base Layer, and the Good. The Clean Slate starts and ends your day. This face wash leaves all skin types refreshed. The base layer is your daily moisturizer that hydrates your skin and absorbs it fast, leaving you with a matte finish so you can start your day confidently. The Good is a clinically proven, multifunctional serum that helps your skin look tighter and smoother, as well as helps reduce the visibility of wrinkles and fine lines. Caldera Lab is made with top-tier ingredients and is a great addition to your daily routine. It takes less than a minute, morning and night.
So you can use our exclusive code PULP20, that's PULP20, to enjoy 20% off of their best products at calderalab.com. That's calderalab.com. You can find more information in the link in our description below. James, a new Tom Cruise movie is always a cinematic event. We had it last year with Top Gun Maverick. Now we've got the new Mission Impossible film, Mission Impossible 7, Dead Reckoning Part 1. You've been to see it. I haven't had a chance yet. You literally went to see it the day it opened because it got an early release date, right?
It did. Got an early release date ahead of Oppenheimer. Kind of got pushed early.
I'm keen to catch it. This will be a spoiler-free review. Don't worry, everyone.
Yeah.
But James, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1.
It's interesting you introduce it as a Tom Cruise movie. And one of my main thoughts coming into this is that last year we had Top Gun Maverick, which was fantastic, and all these conversations coming out of it were like, Tom Cruise single-handedly saves modern cinema. And, we're going to have a conversation in our bonus episode about like whether or not cinema is dead, which you can check out. But it's like Tom Cruise single-handedly revives the big blockbuster, big screen action, gives everyone a reason to go to the cinema. And when the film was as good as Top Gun Maverick and as solid and as well executed, we're almost okay with that being said around that film because it warranted the praise and it was a film worth seeing. And coming out of this film, I'm almost starting to realize that a Tom Cruise film now means so much more than a film starring Tom Cruise.
Yes.
He is definitely starting, you could say he's been doing this for a while now, but he started to create his own brand of big action stunt films. Yeah. And they take the shape of many different franchises, and Mission Impossible is probably like the longest running example of it, but you could definitely see a common thread with Tom Cruise films. It's not, yes, we got directors like Joseph Krasinski and Christopher McQuarrie, but in a lot of ways it's a Tom Cruise film. Absolutely, and it's not just because he's starring in it, it's an approach. Yeah. And Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is a film that, it's the 7th film in its series. Looking back, the franchise has now been out since 1997.
I think it's earlier. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Is it 97?
I think it's 5. I think it's 95.
Ooh, I have a feeling it's 97. Is George wrong?
I think it's 1995.
96.
Okay, we'll call
there you go.
Call it even.
We'll call it even. Call it even. So since 1996, I think we've not gone more than 6 years without a Mission Impossible film, which to me, I thought there'd be longer gaps between them. I think the longest gap is between
2 and 3, I think.
Maybe 3 and 4, I'm not sure.
Because 3 came out in 2006, 4 came out in 2011, it's 5 years.
Yeah, so maybe it's
1 came out in 2001, 3 came out in 2006. Yeah, it's about 3 to 5 years between each one. This one has been This is 5 years. It's every 5 years, basically.
And looking at Tom Cruise's career, he was around the release of Mission Impossible doing lots of very different films. But I feel like when Mission Impossible came out, yes, he had done action before, but that really solidified him as an action star. And more and more later in his career, he's becoming very doubled down on the action and this new brand of action, which he does.
But also funny because the first Mission Impossible is not really an action film at all. It is a espionage thriller.
And so Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which is the title I'm going to get really annoyed at saying over a million times. This is going to be the end of Mission Impossible. We have a film that starts with, interestingly, the villain of this film takes form in multiple different ways. We are having, Mission Impossible loves MacGuffins. We've had the knock list, which is kind of like a list, the rabbit's foot.
Yes.
This one is the Entity, which is oh so modern. It's an AI supercomputer that is a weapon that's been created, and it has the ability to hack into any government software. It can infiltrate any system. It can turn on the nuclear button of any nation's weaponry. And
can I ask, are there rogue IMF agents in this?
Of course he's gone rogue. When has he not been rogue?
He loves to rogue.
I don't think there's a single film where he hasn't been rogue.
He is a dashing rogue.
He is the epitome of rogue. And I think when I explain the idea of the Entity to you just now, it sounds a lot less cool than it was in the film. And in the film, instead of having like a big villain, what you've got is lots of different factions and parties all trying to get the things that you can use to control the Entity. And so that's where the sort of villain plays out. Tom Cruise is back as Ethan Hunt. He stumbles upon this problem of the Entity. He recruits his friends. There are many new characters entwined. And basically, the plot goes on to be a globe-trotting, action-packed, crack cocaine entertainment fiesta.
Wow.
And it is unstoppably entertaining.
Fantastic.
It was 2.5 hours long. I felt like it was about 25 minutes.
Wow.
Honestly, if you'd caught me at the end, I would have happily gone to pee and watched part 2.
Wow.
It's really, really, really good.
And you saw it in IMAX?
I saw it in IMAX. I think, look, like when... I don't want all my films to be like Top Gun Maverick.
No.
But while those films are being made, they understand how to do this action and they understand how to do it really well. What I realize this film is doing is that it always seems to have 3 different things happening at any one time. And all of them are very exciting and set up simultaneously. And the plot sort of almost interweaves like a plait, where all of these things seem to sort of roll over each other like dough. One thing takes the lead and the other 2 things are sort of established. And when the top one falls out, the other 2 are now running. And when that one goes out, the other one's back. And the first one was there. And it just does not stop. And it keeps on going. There were moments in, I think it was the first half an hour, where we get a really great introduction, a really great classic Mission Impossible scene. And I'm just beaming with a huge smile because I'm having so much fun. And about half an hour in, you get the bum bum. I was just immediately, from that moment, I had so much fun with it. I was grinning like a little kid the entire time, and just watching with spectacle, going, "Oh my god, what are they gonna do?" Like with my eye, you know when you like tennis, like darting my eyes, like, "Oh my god, what's gonna happen?" The next thing, oh my god. On stunts, okay? Yeah. We all know about the big stunt that's been done, which is the motorbike. You've seen it on the poster. You've seen it on like the elongated featurettes. Don't get me wrong. When that happens, my jaw was on the floor. And I'm watching it going, I cannot believe, even though I've seen how the sausage got made completely, and I know it's like a sort of like, a different ramp and they CG'd it in. When that moment happens, I look at it and I go, that is genuinely amazing. And the shot they're able to get with your action star there, genuinely incredible. Fantastic. On the big screen I can see it. It's cool. I do, however, think that maybe when they go to Tom Cruise, we're going to do another Mission Impossible 7, have you got any stunt ideas? He's like, do I? And then he comes out with all of his ideas. And I think they design the stunt first and then write the plot around
absolutely, yeah.
And so when we get to that moment, which I know is coming, and it's in like the last action sequence, I do kind of feel like we didn't really need to do this to get this to happen. So cool to see it, but it was like, let's make the stunt a little bit contrived. Like I thought the one in 4 when he climbs outside the tower, the Burj Khalifa.
Yeah,
I thought that was really cool.
The Rogue Nation, the plane, I think is great as well.
That's
on the
also
side of the
cool.
Plane,
yeah, that the setup of Rogue Nation that opens that film, isn't it? Yeah, it's like that was similar in that. You've missed the thing. You got to go and get it. How are you going to get it? You got to do the crazy thing to go get it. It's basically that, and it's like you've made such a spectacle of it for this.
Yeah, I have a slight anecdote about that, which is that I was on a podcast. There was an actor, I can't remember his name, but he was in Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise, and he was talking about working with Tom Cruise. And during Edge of Tomorrow, they were prepping, or they were just talking about maybe they were working on Rogue Nation, behind the scenes, whatever, and they were talking about stunts. And as a kind of they were talking about what like as you said, what could he do next? What's on the thing? And semi-seriously, this actor said, well, why didn't you do what that guy did, Felix Baumgartner, the highest skydive of all time, when up to like sub-zero temperatures or whatever, and the altitude. And Tom Cruise heard the suggestion, paused a moment, thought about it, and then went, no, because it's already been done. And like that, I think is brilliant. That's his attitude. It's just like, if someone's already done it, why would I do it? How can I top that?
I totally believe it, and I think there's this element of like Tom Cruise is really good in what he does, but I think when he talks out of character, he really delivers everything with like a real intensity, and I really feel like he believes in what he's doing, and like by the time the camera's rolling, I don't feel like he really needs to switch much on because he really believes in the vision. We heard that leaked audio of him like, I am single-handedly saving this entire medium, and I think he really does believe it, and that's very much true of Mission Impossible, which has always been quite a somewhat silly premise, but always delivered very seriously. And I think that's sometimes where we go, oh, Mission Impossible's kind of dumb. But I actually think it'd be wrong to call this film dumb, because I think the way in which it manages to capture attention, I think is really, really smart. And I think Marvel, I think Disney, and I think Star Wars could all look at this and learn a little bit more about execution.
I think sorry, interrupt, hold your thought.
Yeah.
That's exactly the word I'm thinking of, and that's exactly what these films realise. They go, people don't come here for the plot; it's all in the execution with a capital E,
and just like so carefully woven. I think about every single action sequence, and this film is really jam packed. Like I think about this, you'll know it, like the airport, Venice, Rome, the train, and I just think
Italy.
Every part of it, I go, God, that was so well done. And like I've always said, there's always like 3 things going on at one time. When one drops out, the next one comes in. I think that there's one of the villains, a character called Gabriel, who is introduced in this film, and he's sort of like the main villain that we don't want to get control of the entity because he's sort of malicious and evil. And, I think it's kind of hard when you're 7 films into your series and you're introducing a villain for the first time. And I did kind of feel like they wrote this villain, and some way halfway through, the writer went, hang on, but why does Ethan Hunt give a shit? And they went, oh, good point. Let's just say he betrayed Ethan years ago and killed one of his friends. Great, yeah, that'll be it. That's enough motivation. I thought the guy who played him was distinctively menacing and sinister in that very like Mission Impossible way. But I was a little bit like, you've just introduced this guy. You've really shoehorned in like a flashback about a character I've never met that like betrayed Ethan. I'm like, okay, kind of like shoehorned in there. The female actors in this film, more so than any action film I've seen, completely stole the show. You had Hayley Atwell in being introduced in this, has great chemistry with Tom Cruise. I thought it was brilliant. Vanessa Kirby, best she's done in any of these films. Kind of just sort of like whispery and mysterious in the other ones. And this one, really, really interesting. You've got Pom Klementif, who's also, I feel like her role is like a silent assassin, where they kind of looked at John Wick's homework a little bit and said we could kind of do that kind of thing, like a cool bleach blonde assassin with a samurai sword. Like, brilliant. That's kind of John Wick. And Rebecca Ferguson as well. I just enjoyed all of them doing lots of different things, all of it being balanced. It's pure entertainment. Is the idea of like a rogue AI very much like modern and on the nose, and is the villain a little bit shoehorned, and is the AI thing a little bit of a MacGuffin, and is the stunt there and then the rest of the plots around it? Maybe a little bit. I cannot wait for part 2. As I said, I would have happily sat and continued and done like a 5-hour double bill. It is so fun.
The question is, to back up your point, is like, is there a better version of this film, or even this type of film, than this?
In what way?
In that, you said, oh, the story of a rogue AI isn't that original. It's like, well, no, but like films have been made about that in the past.
Yes.
And films will continue to be made about that in the future. But if you're going to make an action film about a rogue AI, isn't this the best version of it you're going to get?
Probably.
Exactly.
I'm trying to think of better ideas where they've done that rogue AI. Even Avengers has done that technically with Ultron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really can't wait to see it. And you've just actually made me like, when you were talking, I was thinking about my diary and when I can get in.
Yeah.
I've been away, guys, you know.
Yeah.
Venice, Edinburgh, I've been away. But hearing you talk about it, it's exactly what I have enjoyed, how in a way that the Mission Impossible films had that soft reboot after number 3, and the audience has like grown up and followed it and supported it. And when a Mission Impossible film comes along every 5 years, it is kind of like cherished and championed. Like, oh yeah, here's a cinematic event that's going to be well executed, and you're going to get your things. I mean, with Fallout, they've got so much praise and adulation for it.
Yeah, I actually feel like it represents the best of what an established franchise can provide.
Yes.
It's like if you have like an IP that is proven, endorsed with big talent and studio backing, right? And you have people at the top of their game who really understand how to tell this story, and it's been finessed over 7 films and 20 plus years. The result is that. And I think we can very quickly be quite cynical of franchises for feeling tired and stale and sort of like cookie cutter factory made. Nothing about this feels like we just slept it out or this is like a money printing thing.
Yeah.
I didn't see Fast X, but I know like sort of you jumping into it, you weren't necessarily enjoying it. Another great thing about this is you could do absolutely zero homework and still have a good time.
Yeah.
If you've seen 0 Mission Impossible, 3 or all of them, you could have an incredible time with this. And the role of Kittredge returns.
Yes,
who's brilliant. I can't remember the actor's name.
Tom Cherney.
That's it. And he's so great in this. And it's like a wonderful nod to Mission Impossible 1.
And creates an established universe a little bit.
Yes, it fleshes it out. And he's got this really whispering, well, Mr. Hunt.
Yeah, do you remember in the film? He's like, Kittredge, you've never seen me very upset.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to be trying. And like the Brian De Palma Dutch angles from Mission Impossible 1 are like very much back but in this really modern way. And it's like, yes, I could talk about the chase scenes, the car scenes, the stunts. Yeah. Even the dialogue scenes are like your heart's beating because you've seen this thing and then it's like, who's wearing a mask, maybe, and that's like very carefully just underused the perfect amount.
Yes, the Scooby-Doo.
The Scooby-Doo, like Mission Impossible 2, it really got out of control. But even the dialogue scenes, I'm like, just edge of my seat the whole time. It's like a 2.5 hour heart attack in the best way. Just really well executed. I don't want every film to be this. I want to be clear. Like I've loved Top Gun Maverick, and I've really enjoyed this, and I'll 100% be there to find the biggest screen I can for part 2. But Tom Cruise has figured it out. He really does know what it means to get people in for a big screen experience. He has redefined his own brand of summer blockbuster, and I'm here for it. If he can continue to make films of that quality, I'd be happy to recommend that film.
Just on that thing about how you have to have zero homework going in. And even though I just said that, yes, bringing Kittredge back and kind of semi-establishing a kind of world, probably because they're heading towards a conclusion, they want to give it a little bit more emotional depth. I think it's probably not a mistake. It's probably a deliberate, conscious decision that after 1, 2, and 3, when they did the soft reboot, they did away with the numbers.
Yes.
And they're like individual stories that you can dip into. It's a reason that Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation and Fallout and this, it's just the tales of Ethan Hunt that you can pick up and put down in any order. Even though characters do pick over and, Jeremy Renner and Alec Baldwin.
Yeah,
and,
the characters come in and out and some are always there. And
but it's
Ving
nice.
Rhames coming
and
back.
even, of course, and actually even I remember at the beginning of Rogue Nation, like Alec Baldwin references the first film and he says, you broke into my facility 20 years ago.
It's just enough there to be like, this is a real world that exists outside
to respect
of
the
this
fact
plot.
to respect the fact that you as an audience member have seen the other films. But
another thing I'll say, is that I really didn't feel part 1 at the end of this. Like we
talked about with Dune and Spider-Verse.
And we've got a part 1 in the title. Like it's very much, hello, you're watching one half. Completely works as its own film. Towards the end, I felt like when I finished, I had my starter, my main course, my dessert, a little chocolate on the pillow. Everything was there for me to feel fulfilled. I got my movie. Because it's, we talked about that with Dune, and then I didn't see it, but Spider-Verse 2, people had felt very part 1. You could very happily, years in the future, which Mission Impossible do you fancy watching? Dead Reckoning Part 1, great. I'm not going to feel like I've got half a tale. And then I'll just give a shout out to the final sequence being straight out of Uncharted 2. If you know, like it's the train scene from Uncharted 2, like straight away, in the best way. Very much enjoyed it.
Have you seen Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1? If you have, let us know your thoughts at hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. So guys, as you know, this is the part of the episode where we read out your emails, our listeners' correspondence. And James, I begin this week with an email from Freya. Freya has written into Where's she written into, James?
She writes into hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com, just like you can.
Just like you can. Hi, James and George. I love the pod and have been listening non-stop since I found you back in March.
Nice.
Great work, Freya.
Nice.
On George's recommendation, my family and I decided to watch The Apartment. And again, Freya, impeccable.
Yep.
What's the word I'm looking for? Impeccable formatting. You have not only italicized your year, but you've also put the year in brackets as well, which is proper and how you do it. So great. I decided to watch The Apartment, 1960, and we absolutely loved it. So The Apartment, guys, I've mentioned this a couple of times, is one of my favorite films. Black and white film from 1960, Billy Wilder film. Just brilliant. Set over Christmas and New Year, but not actually a Christmas and New Year film necessarily. Just wonderful and funny and a little bit dark and just fantastic.
I feel like it's popped up. It's on our list.
It's
imaginary
It's on
list.
your list. I mean, I've seen it 8 times, but it's definitely, it gets the endorsement. Pulp Kitchen certified.
Stamp of approval.
Shirley MacLaine and Jack Lemmon are amazing, though I fail to understand why people can't push their own lift button. So this is because it's set in a 1960s skyscraper.
Okay, yeah.
And so you get the morning rush of everyone going in, and you've got designated people, the bellboys,
Yeah.
right, pushing the buttons. But obviously it's Shirley MacLaine, so I don't know, bell girl. Why can't people push their own buttons? I think it's so the lift people, the bellboys, operate as sort of like traffic wardens to make sure that everyone's in, buttons are pressed. And there is a sort of bit of law and order.
We've got the metal gate.
There is the metal gate. She does do the metal
also like
gate.
a safety thing.
Yes.
Are we all in?
I think it's just to corral the troops and everything, make sure that, and also the businessmen wouldn't stoop to pushing their own buttons.
It represents like it's a new technology that we can't necessarily trust to just work in an automated way.
And it's just
Can't just leave people alone in the lift.
And also, why not? Let's insert some elitism. Where we can, because
Wearing a
humans
hat?
tend to
Wearing a hat
do. No, she's got but white cotton gloves.
Okay, good.
Anyway, despite that, it really feels like a film that I will be rewatching very soon, which brings me to my question. What makes a film rewatchable? And if it doesn't have this quality, do you tend not to revere it as highly? As your favorite films, are your favorite films ones that you end up rewatching, or are there some that benefit from being viewed fewer times? For me, Spider-Man No Way Home comes to mind. Sorry for the slight rambling. Best, Freya from Sweden. Thank you, Freya. Now, this is different to the question we've had before, which is which films would you never watch again, which we've talked about, right? So this is, is that a valuable asset in a film for it to have a rewatchable element to it?
From a commercial standpoint.
I mean, yes. But from an audience, from you. When you watch a film, does its rewatchability... I mean,
I think when you rewatch something, you're trying to recapture a feeling. So, like No Way Home, specifically, those moments of nostalgia, and you're trying to you want to re-experience the fun. If you think about films that are commonly rewatched, it's like the Christmas films, your Love Actuallys. So they're like ceremonial and seasonal, and they're also inherently fun and easy films. But when it's outside of that, like my answers are very simple in terms of my comfort films like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, Sam Raimi, Spider-Man.
I think that there are films that I wouldn't necessarily watch over and over again, but I have always thought that the true test of a film is on the second viewing. Yeah, for any film, that's the real make or break point.
Like Prestige, we said, is like a film that evolves.
I've seen the Prestige probably about 8 times, and you just said off air that you're going to go see Mission Impossible 7 again this week, so that has a rewatchable factor. What I will say is, it is definitely something that is valuable. I have this thing with the film Dirty Dancing. So Dirty Dancing is a film that I think is a good, solid film. I think anyone who gives it a hate doesn't really understand it, and I know it's beloved by many, many people. I'm fine with it. It's not like one of my core films or anything, but I watched that film 4 times last year in 4 separate scenarios, right? And I don't do that because I'm a diehard Dirty Dancing fan. I have this thing, I've been thinking a lot about it. I think Dirty Dancing might be the most rewatchable film.
Yeah, it's in that category. Yeah,
it has enough, I've really thought about why it is. It has enough drama in it to keep it interesting, but it's softly stated enough to not be too intrusive or exhaust you. It's not like you come out of Tenet or something like that. It's like, it hits this sort of weird, sweet spot where it's the fact that it's set in the past. It's got this sort of breezy charm. It's the way it's edited. It's hard to describe. It's mercurial. It's almost like intangible. But when you watch Dirty Dancing, which you will do eventually, and maybe Talia, your girlfriend, she's a fan of it. Like she'll tell you, there's just something that you can honestly finish Dirty Dancing and put it on again, and you just wouldn't be bothered by it because sometimes sometimes it trails off a little bit, and sometimes it comes back. It's just sitting at the just right amount of depth in the water to you to just want to keep repeating it. It's like found a design flaw. I can't tell you what it is, but for some reason I think that Dirty Dancing...
It's nourishing but not sickly.
Exactly. It just hits there, but it's not like an overly grand meal. It's the most rewatchable film there is, and that's Dirty Dancing.
Because there are other films which are rich, like a chocolate pudding.
God, yeah.
Incredible, but you can't have 10 of them in a row.
No,
you feel terrible.
I mean, yes, I've seen like...
Doesn't mean you don't want to have chocolate pudding ever again.
Like, I've seen There Will Be Blood 4 times. I couldn't watch it like...
No, what would happen to you?
Just walking around, having all the milkshakes I like.
See, now I'm brushing my teeth with the toothpaste.
Oh, my girlfriend. Now I know that she's seen the film, obviously, because I made her watch it.
Oh, you're just loving it.
Now I have permission, in my mind, to do Daniel Playing You whenever I want. And I will... She'll be like, so what do you want to do today? I'll be like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to town, and we're going to have a coffee. And my favourite kind of coffee... That's Welsh.
You should get me over as Paul Dan. I'm like, what are we going to do today?
I have had 4 coffees in different parts of this town. That coffee's been brewed. Anyway, thank you very much, Freya, for that email.
This next one's from Joshua, who writes at hello@popkitchenpodcast.com and says, hey guys, I recently did 2 double features. The first was based on your recommendation, being She Said and Women Talking. Talia just did that on a plane. She was like, what should I watch? You know, like I cynically like take off my headphones, look over to the BA screen, and I'm like flicking through. You've seen that? No. And I was like, oh, and I saw Women Talking, whacked it on. Loved it. Talia, like, wiping tear.
I've forgotten it because it was early this year.
Yeah, I think it's still my film of the year.
Right, let me get back to
it's still my film of the year, I think. And then she said she did after it because I was like, double bill. And then she was like, I really enjoyed the double bill. Anyway, Joshua goes on to say, I really enjoyed both. So thank you. Women Talking, I thought was beautifully impactful and even brought tears to my eyes. And I definitely agree with James that every young man should watch it. Yes, this is the point of really incredible argument that the film makes sort of somewhere half through, which I just thought was really interesting and really complex and just fantastic. Please go and check it out. The second double feature I watched was Blackberry and Tetris. I love Tetris. It became this movie I wasn't really expecting about the creation of a loved video game. Yes. It was also a period piece about the fall of communism in the Soviet Union.
That's the Taron Egerton one from earlier this
year. Yes, the very recent
Blackberry?
one. Blackberry is, I think it sounds familiar.
It's not coming out till October.
It is about the phone BlackBerry.
Is it?
Yeah. It's got BlackBerry on the poster.
It's due out on the 6th of October 2023, according to this.
Well, there you go. 6th of October. Oh, so it's not out yet.
No,
amazing.
Yet.
Okay, great. Sorry if this question has been asked, but are there any double featured movies you love and work well together, or that you would recommend? P.S. P.S. My unpopular opinion, which might make me lose my very proud membership of being a friend to the show, is that I don't rate Pulp Fiction. I know. Blasphemous, right? I love Samuel L. Jackson in it and think his performance is incredible, and I really enjoy Tarantino's other work. I don't know if there's something I just don't get about the movie or something I'm missing, but I don't understand why people rave about it as if it's the greatest movie ever. From hopefully still friend to the show, Josh.
You have been banished.
Deleted.
I mean, look,
I hope you're listening and someone behind you just goes, just collapse.
Look, I know our show is, obviously part of that title. We're not worship on the altar of Pulp Fiction, but I am surprised because I do stand up for that, even though it has, like I think we talked about it before, like the amount of like racial slurs in it is just really, really jarring.
Yeah.
But it's just undeniably it has such cool energy. It has such like fresh new talent. I'm a film director. It's freshly unwrapped Tarantino for the first time. I know we had Reservoir Dogs, but this was him properly giving us his whole thing. And
its non-linearity is always very refreshing to jump into.
And it's funny.
It's like awkward and strange.
Oh, it's so good.
Everyone's just weird.
The whole thing with the coffee, and also when Jules is Jules and Vincent washing the blood off their hands. He's like, God damn it, Vincent! Look at that.
That like tactility of like focusing on random things as well that Tarantino loves to do. It's
but no, still friend of the show. When you said about the double bills,
Yeah.
look, I'm just going to, I mean, the easy cop-out is defer to last year when we did a whole episode
Yeah.
about best double bills. And we had a few there, and a couple of people we've written in have tried those double bills and said they've worked. So check out that episode and maybe try a few of them out and let us know what you think.
And never apologise for not liking a thing that other people like. And also, on our YouTube video for No Hard Feelings, loads, because I didn't really like the film,
Yes.
I had a lot of comments being like, oh, I 100% disagree, here's why it worked for me. And I'm always like liking them, and I always be like, yes, fair point. I'll always like to see if you can argue why you liked it. It doesn't necessarily change my view, but just like, I just love it when people disagree and
also with the film like Pulp Fiction, like it's built up enough that it can take someone like disagreeing with it. And as long as it's done in a respectful and cogent way, which is the
Pulp Fiction will be fine.
Yes,
we won't.
Next email is from Eden, who writes in about the Boiling Point miniseries.
Yeah.
Hi, James and George. Hope you are both well. Just wondering if either of you have seen the announcement regarding the 4-part miniseries following on from the critically acclaimed Boiling Point with Stephen Graham that is being released on BBC later this year. The film still sticks with me as a great memory, and I absolutely love the one-take aspect that it ran with. Guys, you might remember, those who've stuck with the show a long time, we did a review of Boiling Point at February last year. It was a long time ago, all shot in one take in the kitchen. We both really liked it. It was really and
good.
we talked about it in our review of last year's.
It's one of our best performing YouTube videos because I think not many people covered it and gave it a thumbnail and a review and a title.
Yes.
So I think people who are seeking like a Boiling Point review found our video, which is quite exciting.
I literally had a colleague who said to me, I didn't know you did this film thing because I watched this film, Googled Boiling Point review, and your face came up. Yeah, it's my face. Anyway, Stephen Graham is an absolute wonder and has always been my go-to answer. If someone asked me for my favourite British actor, I think that's a really good shout.
I just watched The Irishman, as I said. He's brilliant in that as well.
Working in hospitality along with my girlfriend, we ended up watching the film together and we both feel like it really captured the highs and lows. It does. It really captures the lows of working in the industry. And can I just make a point, about Boiling Point? For those who have watched it recently or semi-recently.
Boiling Point.
When we covered it before, we talked about how there's that moment where a table is sat and they are first sat with a sort of young, white, blonde, middle-class waitress and who is then, that table is then transferred and by the service is then transferred over to another waitress who is young, black, and not accepted very well by that table. And I thought it was pretty clear and pretty clearly inferred that there was a racial element in that film. We had quite a few comments, people saying, no, I don't think there's a racist bit to it. And I'm like, you've misread that film. Go back, you can see it in the whole behaviour there. A very minor thing to bring up. But when I read people saying,
was it comments that said that?
Comments on our YouTube video
right.
said, I don't think there was a racial element to the guy's behaviour. I think he was confused that there was two different servers. And I was like, no. I think it's very clear that there's a racial element. Anyway, back to Eden's email. He said about, that captures the highs and lows of the film, which I suppose it was intended on doing. There are some spoilers here. So spoiler
warning for Boiling Point. Just skip through a couple of minutes if you haven't seen it. By all means, if you haven't, that acts as an endorsement to please go and check it out.
I do believe it should still be on Netflix, hopefully, but it was last year. As excited as I am with the idea of seeing the fallout of the film's events, it really leaves a bad taste in my mouth that they decided to show Stephen Graham in photos of the show's advertisements. The best part about the film itself is not knowing the outcome of Stephen Graham's character condition and leaving it to the audience to decide what they think happened to him. I mean, I personally, that last 20 seconds, I could have done without in the film.
Same.
I didn't think he needed to do that, but nonetheless, I'm very excited and intrigued to see the route that they take with the miniseries, and would love to hear your thoughts on the upcoming show. And if you would still bother to watch it, as always, keep up the amazing work. Me and my girlfriend both love listening each week, and especially enjoy taking part in the games at the end to test our knowledge. Kind regards, Eden. Thanks very much for the email, Eden. James, how do you feel about the Boiling Point TV show?
Excited for the TV show if it's got the same approach as that.
It's not one take.
No, but I mean approach of sort of storytelling.
Yes, of course.
Of course, really happy with that. On the idea of piece of fiction that was meant to just be that had an ending that was meant to leave you wondering more. It's always that factor. As soon as you try to lift up the rock to see something, you're always going to change what that original thing was. And that's kind of always, in a way, going to taint what you thought of it. I'd still be excited to see more, but I get why you're like, oh no, it was left to leave you wondering. I don't want to know in the Inception spinning top, did it wobble or did it not? The fun is that you don't know if the Inception top fell over in the end. That's fun about it.
Well, some would argue the value is that Dom's home. Doesn't matter if it's real or not.
Should we end there?
Okay, next up.
This next one is from Mary, who writes into the show and says, "Hello, James and George. New listener here.
Hey,
Welcome.
Mary.
I was listening to an episode where you guys were discussing some of your favourite director-actor duos, and although I agree with your list, I was a little bummed that no female directors were mentioned and only one actress. The first duo that popped into my mind was Greta Gerwig and Saoirse Ronan, brackets, I know they only have 2 films, but they seem to have an incredible relationship, and I'm excited for more." You know what we did? We looked at the numbers, like pure numbers of like collaborations.
Oh, did we?
Like, oh, and also the best films
Yes.
that I was like, De Niro and Scorsese have done
I
like
think, yeah.
11.
Either way, yeah, Mary, you're absolutely
But
right
like
to
we
call
could
us
have
out
also
on it.
done
yeah.
it in that sense, which is like actors who have done it twice, but who have
Yes.
done it really well.
Yeah,
But
yeah, we looked at the volume of collaborations.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. But yes, absolutely.
also
Call
great
us out on it,
collaborations
yeah.
for De Niro and Scorsese, but like,
Yeah.
I would love to hear about some female directors that you admire and working on intentionally diversifying the content I consume. And one new female director I want to recommend is A.V. Rockwell. Her directorial feature film debut is 1001, starring R&B singer Teyana Taylor. It's a beautiful love letter to Harlem, brackets Rockwell's home, the 90s/early 2000s, a mother-son relationships, beautifully shot, great soundtrack, worth the watch. Mary from Oahu, Hawaii.
Hawaii!
Sent from
Okay.
my iPhone.
First of all, aloha.
Aloha.
But that probably does
Top show.
Aloha. No, but that probably does take. That is probably the most remote listener.
Yes, while Hawaii not technically a remote place to be, in terms of your
Geographical
proximity, it's bang in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Correct. I mean, we have Australian listeners, but they are very urban listeners.
Yes, you're more, yeah.
They, in terms of, I think that you might be there, Mary. You might be there as the most remote listener.
I still want to hear from like a village in Lofoten in Norway. Or like some, really like the outback in Australia I would count.
Yeah.
Because that's like one of the most remote places.
In the world.
Yes.
Well, on female directors, yes, there are many, obviously, female directors who are fantastic and we admire.
Greta Gerwig about to really have
Greta
another
Gerwig, obviously,
huge moment.
fantastic. I truly adore Little Women, her version of it. And I love Lady Bird, but like what she did with Little Women, I
If
absolutely
you want
love.
to go back and listen to the episode we did with Lucy about the Tribeca Film Festival,
that's right,
she did a really wonderful little bit about why she really loves that film.
Yes.
And we sort of like re-fell in love with that film again.
Yeah,
while she was talking
absolutely.
about it. So go and check that out if you haven't already.
I mentioned a film when we did great moments in films, like great individual scenes last year. I mentioned a film called Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. And that I talked about the scene, which is all set on the actress's face, and it's about 2 teenagers traveling cross country to get an abortion in America. And that's a film directed by Eliza Hittman, and I really found that fantastic. And a lot of the time I've seen 1 or 2 pieces of female filmmakers work, or like all filmmakers, but there are a couple of female filmmakers who I'm just desperate to see other films of. So I haven't seen Beach Rats, which is the other film that she did, which I really enjoyed, which I'm really keen to see. Obviously, Catherine Bigelow is a big name, and I've only seen Zero Dark 30 once. We've talked about that previously on the show, but I think Detroit was underrated.
Oh my God,
I think
so much.
there was
And
some
it's
sort
really
of-
under-discussed. It's the second time we brought this up as a film that's like criminally under-discussed.
Really good.
I think it's John Boyega's best performance by far.
Yeah.
You've got Jack Rayner, who I've said is like an underrated male actor who's brilliant.
Will Poulter being
is just
fantastic
great.
as ever.
If you missed Detroit,
It's a really good,
honestly,
it's really good.
It's like one of those films that could be a play.
Yeah. Very
Brilliant.
uncomfortable and
Yeah.
intense. Andrea Arnold as well, who I have actually had the pleasure of meeting, who directed Fish Tank and Wuthering Heights and American Honey. Really interesting. And she did the second series of Big Little Lies, and she didn't have a very good experience with it. But what I liked the fact that even though it was a TV series that had much bigger names in it, that was very much about the actors and the presence and the story. You don't often get the director's voice coming through in television, but I still found I got a little bit there, which was great.
Fish Tank was like one of those very gritty but like intimate and soft films. Michael Fassbender's in there, a very like small independent movie.
Yeah, and lastly, just Chloe Zhao, who I haven't seen The Rider, which is a film that gets a lot of praise, but I really did like Nomadland. And Eternals, I know... Eternals is so it's a bit of a slide, but I still fundamentally admire, believe, and
keep an eye on what she's
respect
doing next.
the fact that she decided to took a chancing swing at something different with Marvel there. So yeah, I mean, and we could go on, but there's just some for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, and then I watched One Fine Morning earlier this year, which is a review you can check out from me and Hanson Love. Very much enjoyed that. Just a real contrast to a lot of the other films I saw this year. Just like much more still, thought-provoking. The camera doesn't move a lot, which is something that's like actually quite rare, which I really enjoyed, and I'll be keen to see what she does next.
Oh, actually, one more. This basically Elaine May. Elaine May this is historic a little bit. She's in her 90s now, but she was married to Mike Nichols, who did like The Graduate and Working Girl and so much else. But she actually directed films in her own right, and she's kind of had rightfully so a resurgence in recent years. People have rediscovered her work and reappraised it, and which is great. And she directed this really sweaty, grungy, greasy crime film from the 70s called Mikey and Nicky with John Cassavetes and Peter Falk, who played Columbo. And it's really... It's hard to describe. My Letterboxd review, I think I said it's literally like, imagine a grungy 70s version of like Before Sunrise, but it's about two blokes. It doesn't you have to see it to understand how that works. But my point is, it's a really like gritty, teethy film, and you just wouldn't have expected it to come from her having come from a background in like TV comedy. So yeah, there's fantastically talented female filmmakers from every generation that too many people sleep on. This next email is from Josh Bolden and is entitled The Downward Slope of Marvel. Hi lads, it's Josh from Australia, second time emailer. Thanks Josh for emailing in. I really loved when you guys talked about the latest Marvel movies and TV shows. I personally think that the MCU has very much gone downhill from the good old days of Captain America Civil War and the huge lead up to Infinity War and Endgame. I totally agree that the MCU has been pumping out so much content that it's almost impossible to think of yourself as an audience member and what might happen next. The MCU really was great for me when a couple of movies came out each year, and there was plenty of space for anticipation and theories to what might happen next. That's a really good point about time to digest and discuss and
let my imagination go
and
charge. Tell me exactly what's next.
And I think with the massive amount of things to watch, it has dwindled my curiosity. My favorite MCU film is Infinity War, and I love this movie because there is more of a focus on the villain rather than the hero. Great observation. I love Infinity War as well.
He's still the best villain in the MCU, like by a long way.
Yeah. There is a question coming, I promise. Right from the beginning, Thanos is portrayed as the main character, and we get to know him, his intentions, and his experience on Titan. Seeing the reason behind his plan to wipe out half of life was horrifying, but I sometimes found myself thinking, he has thought about this, and his intention for people not to starve is actually kind of plausible. My question is, what are some of your favorite movies where the villain is portrayed as the main character? This was the first time I experienced this in a movie, and my mind was blown. Very good question. I think what you're talking about is something I've heard about before, which is not necessarily where villains are portrayed as the main character, but it's like where
the person you're following is not.
They are the hero of their own movie.
Yeah.
So a good example is Hans Gruber in Die Hard. But in his world, his intentions make perfect amount of sense. It's very logical. He's not just there to be an accessory to John McClane's main character. He has a believable purpose. That Hans Gruber's film would have happened without John McClane being in that building, right? In terms of villains being the main characters, I guess you're kind of tipping into more like anti-hero territory a little bit. For some reason, the film that came into my head was Heat. And even though I guess if you were drawing it on like typical lines, De Niro is technically a villain because Scarface he is on the wrong side of the line. Scarface, it's a good point.
On the nose one is Joker, who is literally the character is a famous villain, but that film very uncomfortably leads you to spoilers to like him committing a murder, like a public act of terror, right? And it's what goes on in that person's mind space, or what like it even attempts to make you feel somewhat sorry for him, which I think why the film makes a lot of people uncomfortable. It's like what gets someone in their mindset to commit something like that. So, and then he becomes the Joker, who is like a villain in like the most obvious sense, right? So,
but it's basically they've got to obey. They've got to work in the sense that Thanos in his world, he is the hero of his journey.
Yeah,
that's how it's got to work, and that's why you get an interesting conflict, because then you meet at this crisis point when they intersect with another hero. He's not just there as an extension.
Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Never redeemable or likable, creepy, unsettling.
There Will Be Blood. Tar.
Yes. Yeah, Tar.
Really good examples. Those of that's what I said actually when I reviewed Tar. That is a pure villain you're seeing here. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Those are our answers. Thank you very much.
Deep and interesting.
Whoa.
Yeah. Far out, bro.
Thank you very much for that email,
Guys, thank you for
Josh.
sending in your emails to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com. If you wanted to send us your opinions on films, your thoughts, your concerns, please do send them in and we'll read them out on a future episode.
So, guys, it's that end of the show where we play some games to conclude our episode today. If you're new to the show and this is your first episode, this is how we do it. This is how we end. We
Game
end with
time,
some
baby.
good fun. Yeah. Get ready to play. So it's my turn to give you some games today, James. I've got for you 2 Casters Countdowns.
Great.
But before that, I would like to return to a game that we've put out on socials recently and has had a really nice reception from people, which is Nepo Baby Bingo.
For the new people,
new people, as you may know, it's or as you may not know, because you're new people. Nepo Baby Bingo is where I will read out the name of a Nepo baby in the world of film and TV. Yes, Nepo meaning nepotism. It's a Gen Z word for it. And then James, you will have to tell me who their famous parent/relative is.
Okay. A lot of them surprised me last time.
Yes.
I learned about a decent amount of Nepo
Absolutely.
babies.
Like when I said Maya Hawke to you, you didn't know that Uma Thurman was her mum.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Right. That's it. And yes, I know it's not technically bingo. It just sounds good. Okay. It's a title.
A social
it's branding.
media game. This isn't on ITV.
So, guys, let's play Nepo Baby Bingo. Okay. Let me just get myself ready. Guess the Nepo baby from their relative in 3, 2, 1. George Clooney.
George Clooney is a Nepo baby?
Yes.
No.
Technically, his aunt was singer and actor Rosemary Clooney. She was in White Christmas.
Oh, wow.
Lucas Hedges. So Lucas Hedges' father is Peter Hedges, who, according to Wikipedia, is a novelist, playwright, screenwriter, film director, and film producer. I believe he wrote the screenplay for What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Oh, right, okay.
Juno Temple.
No, go on.
Her father is Julian Temple, a documentary filmmaker.
Okay.
Drew Barrymore.
I know this.
Her father was actor John Drew Barrymore.
John Barrymore.
Jeff Bridges.
No, Jeff Bridges?
Jeff Bridges is the Nepo baby. His father was Lloyd Bridges, who's been in many films from back in the day, but including Airplane.
Okay.
Josh Brolin.
Oh, did we say this the other day? No, go on.
Josh Brolin's father is James Brolin, who's an actor who's been in many things and is
Okay.
also married to Barbara Streisand.
Okay.
John David Washington.
Denzel.
Yes, Denzel Washington. Kate Hudson.
No.
Kate Hudson, yeah. Is actually related to a Nepo baby we mentioned in a previous round.
No, go on.
Her mother is Goldie Hawn.
Oh, yes.
Carrie Fisher.
You said this.
I know, Billy Lord, Carrie Fisher's daughter, but Carrie Fisher herself is a Nepo baby of
Go on.
Debbie Reynolds, who is also in White Christmas with Rosemary Clooney. Emma Roberts.
Julia Roberts. The niece.
Yes,
of Julia
her
Roberts,
aunt
yeah.
is Julia Roberts. Samara Weaving.
Ooh, no, go on.
Weaving. She
Hugo
is the,
Weaving?
Yes,
Yeah.
she is the niece of Hugo Weaving.
Nice, okay.
And lastly, Nicolas Cage for a big one.
What?
You didn't know Nicolas Cage?
No, go on.
Nicolas Cage is a Coppola. His name is...
Yes, I did know that. Oh my
His
God.
uncle is Francis Ford Coppola, and his aunt is Talia Shire, which means his cousins are Sophia Coppola and Jason Schwartzman, and much else of the Coppola
It's the whole
clan.
industry, George. It's the whole industry. This is really... I
It's
actually
worldwide,
like...
Jerry.
It's everyone.
It's everyone. There you go.
God,
That was the first
terrible.
round.
Guys, do not try and become... It is a lock. Like,
Get your
don't
DNA
bother.
tested and see who you're
Figure
related
out
to.
who you know, and if it is no one, just give up. Give up, God damn you. God, we got another round of this. Who's left?
Okay, next up, we've got another
It'll
round.
be like Tom Hanks. They'll be like, don't do it, man.
Okay, James, are you ready for the next round
Yes.
of Nepo Baby Bingo?
Yeah.
James, guess the Nepo baby based on their famous relative in 3, 2, 1. Hailey Bieber.
Alec Baldwin. Oh, no.
Stephen Baldwin,
Okay,
correct.
yeah.
He was in The Usual Suspects.
Yeah.
Liv Tyler.
Steve Tyler of the Aerosmith fame.
Absolutely. Dan Levy.
Dan Levy.
It's quite a famous one. It's quite open. He's in a show with him.
Oh.
Eugene Levy
Yes, yeah.
from Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
Maud Apatow. 2 answers, please.
Judd Apatow and then Leslie Mann.
Correct. Zoe Deutsch.
Did you know? Go on.
Her mother is Leah Thompson from Back to the Future, and her father is Howard Deutsch, who is a film director. He directed things like Pretty in Pink.
Right.
Scott Kahn.
Scott Kahn of
Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, Ocean's 13, Hawaii 5-0, I believe.
James Caan?
Correct. Rashida Jones.
No, Rashida Jones.
Rashida Jones' father is legendary producer Quincy Jones.
Wow.
Maya Rudolph.
No, go on.
Maya Rudolph's mother is singer Minnie Riperton. Rumer Willis.
Rumer Willis. No, go on.
Father Bruce Willis, mother Demi
God, I could
Moore.
have got that, yeah.
Tracy Ellis Ross.
No, go on.
Mother Diana Ross.
Wow.
Liza Minnelli. It's pretty famous, this one.
No, I don't know it. Go on.
Mother Judy Garland.
Wow.
Colin Hanks.
Tom Hanks. Yeah,
Correct.
but Colin Hanks is great. I like.
And this last one, singer Elle King, who sang X's and O's. You know the song?
No.
X's and O's.
No, I don't know.
Okay, well, her father is Rob Schneider from Juice Bigelow.
And The Hot Chick with Rachel McAdams.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. And that film would not age well
I
at
don't
all.
think his filmography is aged
No,
well.
but like, man, I used to love a bit of Rob Schneider when I was 2003, you know, like back in the day.
There you go, guys. That
He
was
would
the
turn
second
up
round.
in like, you'd be like extra 13, one-liner in every Adam Sandler film.
Oh, God,
You'd be like,
yeah.
that's Rob Schneider.
But he's not in Grown Ups 2.
Really, do you think they fell out? Have you seen the South Park thing about Rob Schneider is the carrot? In a 24-karat comedy, he's going to realize that being a carrot is not so easy. He's like, I'm a carrot. Oh, it's classic.
Sounds like a South Park.
They do Rob Schneider wrong in South Park.
Okay, James, thank you for playing.
Sorry, I cannot comment enough how disappointed I am in the entire industry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we should probably say, because people seem to get the wrong impression, but we like all those
We're
people.
not being, we like all
those
those
people are some of the lovely.
We're not being critical.
We love seeing those actors. We're not being critical. It is just a little disheartening when you realise that everyone. I mean, like Maud Apatow is a perfect example. Like, great actress, great everything, but like mum and dad.
Where is
mega
this
famous.
American
And
dream?
she got her first acting roles in films
Yeah.
directed by her dad and starring her mum.
And I think Maud Apatow's great. And like,
Yeah,
I
I
look
love
forward to
her.
seeing more. But like, where is the American dream of I left
Yeah.
all my stuff at home and moved to Hollywood?
I mean, I looked
John
at
Krasinski.
Austin Butler's not related to anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few. Emily Blunt, I think.
Yeah.
So
John Krasinski famous as like, I'm going to move to New York. And he was like about to move home.
Yeah.
And then he got the audition for the US office.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, you know what we should do? Like, we just like as a palate
Non-nepo
cleanser,
babies.
Not as a game. Just like actors who really truly made it. And are really
still
like,
read out who their parents are, but no one knows who they are. John Krasinski's mother
Emily
is.
and Sue Krasinski and Malcolm.
Okay, guys,
He is a lawyer and she works in the pharmacy.
are you ready for a game of castless countdown?
Love it.
You know the rules, guys. I'm going to read out a cast list of a film. James has to guess what the film is before I get to the end.
Okay.
Guess the movie based on its cast in 3, 2, 1. Lenny Kravitz, Alan Rickman, Liev Schreiber, James Marsden, Robin Williams,
Whoa.
Terrence Howard, Coleman Domingo, Vanessa Redgrave, Cuba Gooding Jr., Alex Pettifer,
Stormbreaker.
Mariah Carey,
Magic Mike.
Jane Fonda, John Cusack, David Oyelowo,
Oh my God.
2 more, Oprah Winfrey,
This is like
and Forrest Whitaker.
it's not,
Any guesses? Any idea? Because that is a bumper sandwich of a
huge.
cast.
Robin Williams and Forrest Whitaker.
5,
No, go
4,
on.
3, 2, 1. That is Lee Daniels, the butler. Do you remember?
I've not
Forrest
seen
Whitaker, the
it.
butler.
Yeah.
So Alan Rickman,
What
James
year did that
Marsden.
come out, sorry?
That came out in 2013. So Alan Rickman,
Christ,
Liev
that's
Schreiber,
awesome.
James Marsden, Robin Williams, etc. play, John Cusack play the presidents through the ages.
Yeah.
Jane Fonda plays Nancy Reagan, for example. David Oyelowo plays his son. I have no idea who Alex Pettifer is in it, or Vanessa Redgrave, but I've seen it once. It's not a great film. It's okay. But a stacked cast.
Huge.
There you go. James, guess the movie based on its cast. In 3, 2, 1. Christina Applegate. Jack Black. Pam Grier. Natalie Portman. Michael J. Fox. Sarah Jessica Parker. Martin Short. Tom Jones, as in Tom Jones.
Yeah.
Pierce Brosnan. Annette Bening. Glenn Close. And finally, Jack Nicholson. An absolutely stacked cast.
Glenn Close? No, go on.
That is Tim Burton's Mars Attacks from 1995, 96. I've never seen it. You seen
I
it?
have seen it, but like we're talking infant, like really small.
Right.
I don't remember
An
it well.
infant? My God. Watch this, baby.
Yeah, like too young to understand.
Right,
what's going
exactly.
on.
I'm
Yes.
aware that it's like a cult film and it's got like a lot of love around it, but how about that cast?
Huge.
That's incredible.
Incredible.
And again, Christina Applegate, Jack Black, Pam Grier, Natalie Portman, Michael J. Fox, Sarah Jessica Parker, Martin Short, Tom Jones, Pierce Brosnan, Annette Bening, Glenn Close, and Jack Nicholson.
You know what these last two rounds, especially the last one, reminds me of is every so often I get fed these videos of TikTok and it's highlight reels from like the 1993 Oscars red carpet, and they show you like the caliber of talent who obviously now they were big at the time, but like even more so.
Yeah.
And you look at like the stars there and they're all interacting, and it's like Denzel Washington like saying hi to like a young Matt Damon. And you're just like, oh, this is crazy.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh God, like that cast in that era now, unheard of.
There you go, guys. Those were our games today.
never
Hope you
game
enjoyed
those.
them. Thank you very much for getting to the end of this episode of Pulp Kitchen.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Pulp Kitchen. Don't forget, we post new episodes of the show every single Wednesday.
And as you guys know, we're posting bonus content now, and do check it out. It's great. We talk about different things. We have a few discussions. Occasionally we do emails as well. We'd really like you to check those out. And of course, please continue to support us on social media and to leave us reviews, to like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell your mum, tell your dad, tell your
some
dog.
friends.
Shout it out of the window, go to the top of the hills and do a Julie Andrews and just tell everyone that the hills are alive with the sound of Pulp Kitchen.
Just go up to a random person on the tube and scream a cast at them and hope that they just like guess it. Just go, Robin Williams, like Forrest Whitaker. Because I actually think that would work.
Yeah.
If you just start, I feel like for you, if a madman just screamed the cast, you'd be like, oh my God, a vantage point? And they'd go, yes, and then you'd never see them ever again.
Yes. Also, what you could also do is sit on the tube with listening to our show on full brightness and have your phone in your hand out loud to people going, oh, what's that show he's listening or she's listening to?
We picked up a listener.
And they're having a good little giggle.
Do you remember the person who wrote in said they saw our thumbnail on someone else's phone on a train to Manchester?
Yeah.
Be the person with that. They never got in touch when we called them out to be like...
They didn't stick around.
They
were like, what the fuck are these games?
Anyway, guys, thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Bye.